Welcome to the Leadership Insights podcast, the podcast that takes you on a journey into the world of leadership, offering a deep dive into the minds of accomplished leaders from various fields around the world. I'm your host, Amanda Jane, originally from the north of Ireland and now living in beautiful Cheshire, England. Together we'll explore the strategies, experiences and wisdom that have shaped these incredible leaders into the visionaries they are today through solo episodes and interviews. I'm a leadership and communications coach myself, and I'm passionate about promoting a coaching culture in the workplace, as well as empowering leaders to flourish personally and thrive professionally. Whether you're a seasoned executive, an aspiring leader in business, or someone simply fascinated by the art of leadership, each episode will provide valuable insights, practical tips, and inspiring stories. So get ready for a dose of motivation, innovation, and leadership brilliance on the Leadership Insights podcast, brought to you by amandajane.co.uk. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Leadership Insights podcast with me, Amanda Jane, and today my guest is Victoria Cunningham. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello, lovely to see you.
And it's lovely to have you. So before we begin, thank you for agreeing to come on the podcast, and I'm going to ask you the three questions. So, do you have a favourite motivational song, one that really lifts your mood?
Yes, it is "The Dog Days Are Over" by Florence and the Machine. So it's quite an old one now, but it always makes me dance, and I just love the idea that my dog days are over.
I don't know that song. I will definitely add it to my
Now
playlist.
you have to have a little listen to it, and you'll get up and dance.
That sounds fantastic. I will definitely add that to my playlist. And what is your favourite motivational quote?
I don't know the author of this quote, but it was on one of those quote a day calendars in 2002. And it's been my quote ever
Wow.
since. Yes, it's a very old quote, but I still can't find out who it's attributed to. But it is a great relief when you find out that, now I have to think about it. It is a great relief when you find out that you do not run the world. And that is really important to me, because I think as a woman, we think that the world wouldn't turn unless we were like cranking the handle. So it is a great relief when you discover that you do not run the world, nor do you have to.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I can see why that appeals, because you do, don't you? You take the world on your shoulders and you think that you have to run everything. I like that. I'll definitely add that to my list. And finally, what's your favorite book? And this one doesn't have to be motivational, because I'm always on the lookout for good books anyway.
I've got hundreds. I'm a real.
It's hard to choose.
Yeah, I am. I think probably at the moment it's "The Body Keeps the Score" by Bessel van der Kolk, which
Interesting.
is subtitled "Mind, Brain and Body in the Transformation of Trauma." So it's one of those books. The text is very small. I have to read it with a microphone or like a magnifying glass. But it's all about how everything that's ever happened in your life, whether your brain has forgotten it or not, your body still remembers, and on a cellular level. So "The Body Keeps the Score" is really, really inspirational.
Oh, that's so interesting. I will definitely look that one up. Do you know, I've got really into audiobooks. I love books. Then I read them on my Kindle, and then I got into audiobooks. And the reason I love that is because I can have a book on the go all the time while I'm doing other things. And I've always been an avid reader, but I've definitely got addicted to audiobooks now. But thank you. I will add that to my list. Yeah, have I given you an idea now?
No, I used to love an audiobook, but it was pre-lockdown because I listened to them in the car. I find them really relaxing to listen to spoken word rather than listen to music.
Yeah.
And it actually made me a better driver.
Right.
But then lockdown happened, and I think my journeys have got a lot shorter. So I find it hard to get into books, listening to them when I'm not driving. So.
Do you know, I think it goes back to childhood when your parents used to read to you. I think it's something to do with that.
Yeah.
Should we keep that for another podcast? It's only just occurred to me. So moving swiftly on from the psychology. So we're going to talk about leadership today. And so you're an entrepreneur and I've known you for a long time. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
I run an organization called the Ordinary People Academy, and during as part of our work, we train people to become extraordinary wellness professionals. So we train people as Pilates teachers, yoga teachers, breathwork facilitators, and even kids movement and mindfulness coaches. And yeah, I love the idea of yoga that's not for hippies, breathwork that's not for Bally Brad, and Pilates that's not for skinny minis. Like, it's for ordinary people. And so the whole organization has come out of that ethos that ordinary people can be extraordinary teachers and can look at these things without really changing their personality. I
Yeah.
think you know that thing about the yoga teacher that suddenly gets this really polite voice and and it's like, no, just be yourself. So yeah, so the Ordinary People Academy came out of that.
I love that, and it's so you, because that's not you doing the polite yoga voice. No, I think that's just perfect because everybody wants to join in, and you don't want to feel that you can't be part of the club. And the fact that it's accessible to absolutely everyone, and it's so inclusive, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I've only recently discovered the term breath work, and I've been doing some classes with a different coach, and it meant nothing to me about 6 weeks ago. And then we did a little bit of work, and it's something that I'm looking at personally. So I'll chat to you about that separately. But that's fascinating. Yes, I know, that's just so interesting. So you, over your career, you've led a lot of people, you've led a lot of classes, and I'm pretty sure that you've got a lot of leadership insights. So I've got a few questions to kind of get some juicy tidbits from you, and see just where exactly your journey has taken you. So we'll start with a few simple questions, hopefully that won't scare you to death. So can you share your leadership journey with me and some key milestones that shaped your career, and what stands out as the most memorable?
Okay, I would say that I have been a leader since my very early childhood because I was the oldest sister. And I think
Uh-huh.
you know that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're the oldest sister, you're the leader. And in school, when we played games, I led the games. I was the director and the star. And, it
That
was like,
doesn't
we're doing
surprise
this.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody had to toe the line. I always thought that I would be a teacher, and but I never liked the idea of classroom management and being with teenagers in particular that just didn't want to be there. I always wanted to teach people who were as passionate about the subject as I was. And so I think the school that I went to is one of those schools that actually a lot of people came out of school and went straight to teacher training college.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I'm going to get a career, I'm going to do something. At the same time as that, while I was in school, I discovered yoga. I was only 13 years old, and I'd gotten a book from the library and I started to do yoga, which was very strange because I didn't like sport, but I loved the shapes and I loved the way it made me feel. And when I was 16, my mum allowed me to go to my local technical college to start classes. And I mean, we're talking the 1980s here, so it wasn't popular. And I was the youngest by about 40 years. And again, I remember I went through my GCSEs and my A levels going to yoga, and it really supported my stressful. I was just young and a bit of a stress head, and a perfectionist and worried about exams. And I found the yoga breathing and the postures really, really helped me. And I remember my yoga teacher saying, you should be a yoga teacher. And again, very, very rudely, I dismissed her and went, I'm going to university to get a real job. And as it turned out, well, I actually became a teacher and a yoga teacher, and I would say that was my first leadership role. I have been teaching and leading yoga classes in my community since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
I then became self-employed and started the entrepreneurial journey in 2006. But in between times, I was teaching yoga in the evenings, and I worked in youth and community work in Northern Ireland, and I found that the young people that I was working with were like 16 to 25. So it was almost like it was too late for them. And I decided that it would be a really good idea to maybe combine my passions for youth work and helping kids, but really trying to get them at a younger age. And so I decided, that I was going to quit my full-time job and go full-time as a yoga teacher, and as a children's yoga teacher in particular. But in Northern Ireland in the early it was 2006 actually. So yeah, in the early 2000s, it was really like yoga for children. It was just absolutely frowned upon. And now, of course, we're 20 years down the line, and schools are crying out for yoga, and movement and mindfulness. And I've really expanded what I offer. And I'm surprised that I'm still offering it, but it's needed now more than ever. And I just remember that, it was one of those things. I wanted to get kids at a younger age, and I wanted to address rising obesity levels and low self-esteem, and really work with kids who were living in areas of multiple deprivation in a post-Troubles Northern Ireland. And you, just like myself, we both come from Northern Ireland. We've lived through the Troubles, and so we understand the trauma that can entail. And it's, it really does shape everything. And it was like, if we can use movement and mindfulness to allow children to express themselves better, I think it's really going to just develop them as people.
So you did become a teacher, but on your own terms. And I find that really interesting, because those things that you're talking about are very trendy now. But you were doing those things way before they were on Instagram, way before they became popular. And obviously with what we know now, teaching children, young people, yoga and mindfulness. And for me, it just makes complete and utter sense. But I knew you back then, and you never moved from your goal at all. You were determined to do what you were doing, and I'm interested to know what actually drove you, and what influenced you. So who would you look up to? Who would have motivated you the most? Was there any kind of inspirational figure, famous or not famous, that inspired you?
That is interesting. Now this will sound a bit strange, but you are one of my inspirations. Yes.
I was not expecting that.
Yes.
And that sounds like I set that up completely.
No, she didn't. I promise she didn't know this. But the fact that you got up, that you are absolutely a self-made woman, you left Northern Ireland, you just decided, right, that's it, I don't want to be here anymore, and you made it happen. And I watched that and I went, I don't want to be here either. And you were my inspiration to move from Ireland to Scotland. So you didn't know that, but
I didn't.
I find that, I just thought, if she can do it, I can do it. So I'm going to do it. So you're absolutely one of my inspirations.
Oh wow, that's really shocked me. Thank you, Victoria. That's an amazing thing to say. And for context, for anyone that's listening, Victoria and I used to work together. So that's how we kind of how we know each other. But I'm really touched. That's so amazing. Thank you. And I would never have known that, only for this podcast.
You introduced me to so many things. LinkedIn, for example. You set up my LinkedIn profile in the very...
Did I?
Yes. And you were interested in the world of like VA and stuff, and I'd never heard of anything like this. To be I'd heard of like personal assistants, but I'd never heard of virtual assistants. And you introduced me to a lot of things that that expanded my business, because I don't just work in person and do courses. I actually do quite a lot of online training, and so again, you sowed the seeds of that very early on.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. I had no idea. That's so, oh wow, thank you. I don't know what to say now. We'll move swiftly on to the next question. Thank you, Victoria. Wow, that means a lot. Thank you. Overcoming obstacles. So, what challenges have you encountered as a female leader, and how did you navigate through them?
I think I mentioned earlier about what I was doing was very much ahead of my time,
Yeah,
and
completely.
and people didn't take me seriously as a woman, as a young woman. When I set up the business, I was in my early 30s, and yeah, I think it felt like the only person. I mean, I set it up; it was a limited company, a registered charity, but the only person who took it seriously was me at times.
Mhm.
And it really did, you know, I think I needed to move away from such a small country, which had quite limited ideas about things, to somewhere a little bit bigger. And that would allow me to expand the business. And that's what I did. I really did expand out of teaching classes into training teachers.
Mhm. And I think probably too at that time there was so much, so many other things going on when you were trying to do normal things and convince people to take on your ideology. There was just so much noise going on elsewhere. So yeah, I can completely sympathize with that. So at your lowest point then, did you have a mentor to talk to? And if you didn't, do you think it would have helped?
Yes, I do. I think my lowest point was actually in 2008, 2009. I had been running the business for 2.5, 3 years at that point. And as I said, you know, I found I was butting my head against a brick wall at times. And I actually suffered a nervous breakdown and subsequently was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I
Hmm.
think in part you did ask earlier about what drives me. And I think my own mental health and my, you know, my wanting to be resilient and to prove to people that actually you can be a success
Hmm.
and have a mental health condition at the
Yeah.
same time.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that the world has to stop.
Yeah.
So I think it would have helped because I had psychiatrists, I had psychologists, I had community psychiatric nurses, but I didn't have anybody who was helping me to look to the future and to guide me in, because sometimes what happens sometimes with bipolar is that you can get very grandiose ideas and there was
Yes.
nobody to rein those in.
Right. So maybe
Whereas
someone working with you with sort of goal setting, and sort of small incremental achievements, realistic achievements might have reduced that kind of well, the grandiose ideas. I kind of get it in a bipolar perspective, but somebody maybe to rein that in and break it down into achievable steps
yes,
might have been a bit more helpful. No, that's really interesting, and that might resonate with someone who's maybe going through something similar at the same. But yeah, and having been with you at that part in your life as well, I can completely see how that. But in spite of that, look what you've achieved. And you just you're so focused. You're one of the most focused people that I know, and you still managed it. So well done for that. So balancing things. So how do you manage a work-life harmony or balance? And
isn't that interesting?
isn't
Because
it?
I was actually thinking that when you said I'm one of the most focused people, I have seen so many people in the entrepreneurial world come, fly high, burn big, and then burn out.
Yeah.
And I have kept going, plodding away, working away. One of my big things is that the classes and the courses that I run are not, I keep the numbers small so that we
Mhm.
can keep the quality high.
Yeah.
And I do what I need. It's one of the things I remember a friend of mine saying, and you'll have heard this, of course, that you teach best what you need to learn for yourself.
Yeah.
And everything that I've created, I have needed at some point. So the yoga teacher training, I needed that to support me and all of the theory around yoga. The Pilates teacher training, I needed that. And Pilates has been absolutely a godsend, you know, when I had my baby by C-section and then was sort of the body back. The breath work, which is my latest course, that's because I was holding my breath
Yeah.
and I needed to learn how to breathe again. And
Hmm.
I find that when I learn something, I want to share it and teach others that as well. So,
How fascinating is that? That is so interesting. Very, very interesting, Victoria. So, can you share any strategies you find effective in maintaining well-being while pursuing your leadership goals? So, I can see how focused and driven you are. So, what do you do specifically to take care of Victoria?
I do subjects that fascinate me. So for me, I have a toddler, and actually work is my solace. Work is my break from the chaos of yeah, just the chaos of a 2-year-old. So it's been interesting because of course we've had 3 years of a lockdown, and I at that point before the lockdown I was teaching 3 yoga teacher trainings and 2 Pilates teacher trainings running a month, and there's only 4 weekends in a month, and I was all of these were in person courses.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lockdown was really useful and valid for me because it allowed me to really ramp up the online stuff that I was doing, and as a result it's like record something and then you can sell it again rather than have to reinvent the wheel each time. And that has been incredibly beneficial for me. Having said that, though, I still, even online, I still like to be there. I like to be present. It's not, I have some self-paced courses, but a lot of them are led and supported by me. I bought too many courses that I've not used, and I don't want my students to do the same thing. So,
how interesting. Go back to what you said to me at the beginning of the podcast. What was your inspirational quote?
It's a great relief when we find out that we cannot run the world, nor should we be, yeah.
It's echoing, but yeah, I see your sentiment, but I can understand that control element there. But yeah, that was one of the, for me personally, having to move a lot online with work and making this discovery that it's okay to record something, and the usefulness of it is forever, and you don't always have to be present and here and doing it in the moment. And I think that does take a lot of pressure off. And it's okay sometimes to buy courses, and if you don't look at them there and then in that moment, you always know they're there. But I will do that. I buy things, and I will get them out further down the line when the need arises. And I'll buy something just in case, and I'll think, I've got that thing. So, everyone has a different reason for for buying something, and they'll take it out when the time is right. But that's interesting. Hopefully that's taken the pressure off you and the control. What legacy do you hope to leave as a leader, and how do you measure the impact of your leadership?
I'm in a big transitional period with the Ordinary People Academy at the moment. For the last decade, it has been very, very led by me. But now it is an academy, and I want to become the headmaster of sorts and have a layer below me, so that there are tutors and trainers, and then below that there are qualified Pilates teachers, yoga teachers, and so on, out affecting their community. I want it to be not just a ripple effect, but like I don't even know what that word would be.
Filter.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And that sounds very, very you. And brand Victoria with that reach is perfectly doable, and still nothing to do with teaching. But you described yourself as a headmaster.
I know. It just makes me laugh so much. The latest thing we have is we have the staff room, which is for all my graduates that they can go in. It's like a monthly membership. And I even did the branding for it with like loads of smoke, because my recollection of a staff room in school was that you opened the door to the staff room and the pile of smoke came out.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, those were the days,
the smoke. My recollection is coffee smells.
Oh yes,
I can if I smell coffee, that's it reminds me of the staff room. Well, that's so interesting, the legacy. But you know what, I can totally see that happening for you, and people buy into your enthusiasm, and the fact that you haven't changed your focus and your desire and your dream and your legacy in all this time, and that iron will to do it and deliver that vision that you had before the world even knew the benefits of the mindfulness, the breath work, the yoga in young people and children, and let alone adults. I can just see that being, I can see Victoria changing the world. And the final question before we wrap up. So how do you envisage the future of leadership, and what role do you hope to play in shaping it? And I think you've probably covered that. Yeah, Victoria's going to be on the cover of Time magazine.
I hope so. I think, like I said, the Ordinary People Academy, the way I see it is that we create extraordinary teachers, we create extraordinary people. And that's, I see my vision is that my trainers will be, exceptional, and the experiences that we give to people will be absolutely transformational. And so leadership is really important, and I think the leader has to go first. And I think as well, people don't realize, have you seen that meme with the wolf, and no one realizes how hard the first wolf has to go for the other wolves to find the track? And it's a bit like that. I've had to, anything I'm asking people to do, I've gone there first. And I think that's a really important thing, so that leaders are leading from the front, but also then encouraging from behind as well.
Yeah. And that's why mentorship is so important to me. And I always ask that question. And it's just so important to look for the leaders of the future, nurture them, because by definition, they're unsure of themselves and they're not quite sure what direction they should be taking. But when you're an accomplished leader, or you're still finding your feet, or you're still learning, I think you can spot potential in emerging leaders. And by pointing that out to emerging leaders, you've got potential for this, you've got potential for that, just igniting that little spark can make all the difference. And it's just, I love it when that happens, when you can give someone that little, that little seed of, I've got potential, I can do this.
Yeah, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I'm so passionate about coaching culture, leadership, bringing on the next generation and passing on. And it's not just by passing on the knowledge, it's about passing on the passion and the drive and the focus and the goal, because it means so much to us. So thank you so much, Victoria. It's been so interesting talking to you. So where can we go to find out more about Victoria's empire? Have you got a website?
Yes, it's ordinarypeopleacademy.com, and you can find me on all the socials at Ordinary People Academy.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll certainly check that out. But thank you. It's been enlightening. It's been wonderful, and thank you so much for your honesty. And I hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much for listening to the Leadership Insights podcast today, and special thanks to my fantastic guest, Victoria Cunningham. Join me on the next episode for more inspirational leadership stories and insights. You can follow me on Instagram at Coach Amanda Jane, or visit my website amandajane.co.uk. Bye for now.